I am Jones Taylor, 53 years old, happily married, father of 4 amazing kids. For decades, my brother Mike and I ran the family business side by side. We didn't just inherit some dusty old hotels. We built an empire from scratch, with properties in New York, London, Dubai, and more. It was my life's work, my pride and joy. I was there for every decision, every negotiation, every sleepless night. We were a team, or so I thought. Then came the accident. One minute I was driving home from a late meeting, thinking about the new hotel launch, and the next, everything went black. When I woke up, I was hooked up to machines in a sterile hospital room, unable to move much and drowning in pain. The physical stuff was tough, surgeries, therapy, and endless tests. But the emotional part was worse. Being helpless, relying on others for everything, feeling like my whole world was slipping away. I expected my brother to be my rock through it all. After all, family sticks together, right? But that's not what happened. At first, it was subtle. I called the office to check on things. The receptionist would say, "Mike's handling it," or "We'll get back to you," but then silence. Staff who once greeted me warmly started avoiding my calls. Emails went unanswered. The meetings I used to chair were taken over by Mike, without a word to me. One day, Sarah, my wife, sat by my bedside looking torn. She said, "Jones, Mike's been making decisions, big ones. You should know." I didn't want to believe it. Mike, my brother? The man I trusted with everything? Then came the phone call that crushed me. Mike's voice was cold. "Jones, the board voted last week. They decided it's best for the company if you step down temporarily. You're no longer CEO." I stared at the phone, heart pounding. "What?" "Mike, I'm in the hospital. You're supposed to protect me, not stab me in the back." He sighed. "I'm doing what's best for the business. You're out of commission, and things need to move forward." My voice cracked. "But we're family. You could have talked to me." There was no time. "The company can't wait," he said, hanging up before I could say more. I was left alone with that silence, louder than any words. Days passed, and the hospital room felt colder. I wasn't just fighting to heal my body anymore. I was fighting the betrayal of my own blood. How do you keep faith when the one person you trusted most turns into your biggest enemy? I thought about the late nights we spent building this business, the sacrifices, the fights, the dreams. And now, lying here, I realized something had changed. Mike wasn't my partner anymore. He was my adversary. But I'm not a man who takes things lying down. No, this betrayal lit a fire inside me, one that wasn't going out anytime soon. I'd been knocked down, but I wasn't out. And when I got out of that hospital, I was coming back stronger. Not just to heal, but to take back what was rightfully mine. Even lying in that hospital bed, barely able to sit up without wincing, I knew I wasn't about to let Mike take everything without a fight. My body was broken, but my mind was sharper than ever. Sarah walked in one afternoon, carrying my laptop and a pile of papers. Her eyes were tired, and she sat down next to me. "Jones, you need to rest. You're pushing yourself too hard." She brushed my hand gently. I looked at her, exhaustion heavy in my bones, but fire burning in my chest. "Sarah, I appreciate it, but this isn't just about me. This is about everything we've built. About our family legacy. If I don't start digging now, who will?" She sighed, knowing she couldn't stop me. "Just promise me you'll be careful." I nodded. With the laptop on my lap, I started pulling emails, contracts, financial statements. Anything my loyal staff could smuggle past Mike's watchful eyes. Some documents were hidden deep in encrypted folders, others blatantly altered. It was clear, Mike had been quietly shifting the power, selling off valuable assets, and making deals that didn't benefit the family, but himself. One night, I called my eldest, Mark. "Dad, this sounds dangerous." "Mike's got the board on his side, and you're still recovering," Mark said, voice full of concern. "I know, son, but this isn't just about money. It's about respect, about being left out in the cold by my own brother. I have to do this, for you, your siblings, and for Mom and Dad's legacy." Mark paused. "Just don't lose yourself in this." I promised I wouldn't. But some days, doubt crept in. At home, the atmosphere grew tense. Sarah was torn between supporting me and protecting our kids from the fallout. One evening, after a particularly tough day, she sat beside me. "Jones, please, for the kids' sake, maybe you should just let this go," she whispered. "Family means more than business." I shook my head slowly. "Sarah, family means trust. And when that's broken, what do you have left? I'm not doing this for revenge. I'm doing this to protect what's ours." She looked away, tears brimming. "Just be careful. Don't let this destroy us." I pulled her close. "I won't. I promise." Behind the scenes, I started reaching out quietly. Former business partners, old allies who remembered when things were simpler and loyalty meant something. I listened more than I spoke, piecing together a plan. Who could help me? Who might stand with Mike? Every conversation was a test. Every handshake a calculated move. One afternoon, an old friend, Richard, met me at a quiet cafe. "Jones, you sure about this?" "Mike's ruthless," Richard warned, stirring his coffee. "He won't go down without a fight." "I'm counting on that," I replied with a half smile. "I've learned the hard way that slow and steady wins the race. I'm not rushing. I'm watching, waiting ready." Some nights, pain would pull me down, and loneliness would settle in like a thick fog. But I'd remember lying in that hospital bed, betrayed and abandoned, and that fire would reignite. I wasn't just fighting for a company. I was fighting to reclaim my family's honor. And I wasn't going to stop. Not now, not ever. When I finally walked out of that hospital, the fresh air hit me like a punch. But it was a good punch, a reminder that I was still here, still standing, and far from finished. The first thing I knew I had to do was rebuild myself. Not just my health, but my position, my power. Mike thought I was broken, that I'd be out of the game for good. He couldn't have been more wrong. I started calling old friends and business partners. Some answered right away, others hesitated. I heard whispers, rumors, people wondering if I was done for, if I'd even come back. I had to prove them wrong, one conversation at a time. One afternoon, I met with Lisa Carter, one of our earliest investors, at a quiet downtown cafe. She looked me up and down, smiling softly. "Jones, you look better than I expected. Ready to take back what's yours?" she asked, stirring her coffee. "I'm ready to play," I replied. "Mike's been careless, cutting corners and making deals behind closed doors. People are starting to notice." Lisa nodded. "I've got some shareholders uneasy about his direction. You might find allies where you least expect them." That gave me hope. But not everyone was eager to help. I called an old associate, Greg, who was close to Mike. "Jones, you're walking into a hornet's nest," Greg warned over the phone. "Mike's got plenty of friends in the boardroom. Be careful who you trust." I laughed quietly. "Greg, you forget, I'm not here for friends. I'm here to win." Then there was Sarah, always my anchor at home, but now my voice of caution. One evening, she asked, "Are you sure this is worth it? The stress, the fights, the kids are feeling it too." I took her hand. "I have to do this, not just for the business, but for our family's name. If I don't stand up, who will?" Bit by bit, I began quietly purchasing small stakes in parts of the company Mike had overlooked. Subsidiaries, overseas branches, joint ventures. Just silent moves in a game of chess. I even reached out to some of Mike's rivals, people who had their own reasons to see him fall. Over dimly lit dinners and hushed phone calls, alliances formed. One night, over drinks with Rog, a former competitor turned uneasy ally, I said, "Mike thinks I'm done. He's celebrating like a king." Rog smirked. "Let him. Kings fall all the time." Every deal, every handshake, every secret meeting brought me closer to the center of power. Mike was so busy running the show, he didn't see the quiet storm brewing. He sent me texts dripping with mockery. "Hope you're enjoying the sidelines. The company's in good hands." I didn't reply. I let him talk to the wind. Slowly but surely, I was turning the tide. The man who thought he could push me out was about to find out how wrong he was. And this time, I was playing for keeps. The day of the annual shareholders meeting arrived like a storm I'd been waiting to unleash. Months of quiet planning, gathering proof, building alliances, it all came down to this. Walking into the boardroom, I felt every gaze piercing through me. Some were curious, others skeptical, and a few, those who'd felt Mike's reckless leadership, looked like they were hoping for a miracle. Mike was already seated at the head of the table, wearing that arrogant smirk like he'd already won. But I knew better. The meeting kicked off with Mike talking up his successes, spinning stories about growth and profitability. His voice was smooth, practiced, like a man who's been rehearsing his lines for weeks. But I could see the subtle shifts, the nervous twitch in his hand, the slight pause before he answered questions. When my turn came, I stood up with calm confidence. I cleared my throat and started laying out everything I'd uncovered. Emails showing secret deals that diverted company funds, contracts signed without board approval, assets sold off at a loss, all to benefit his personal interests. The room fell deadly silent as I methodically walked through each piece of evidence. The faces around me changed, some grimaced, others exchanged uneasy glances. I could feel the tension crackling like electricity in the air. Mike's smug expression faded. He tried to interrupt, to deny it all, but I was ready. "No, Mike," I said, voice steady. "This isn't opinion or hearsay. This is documented proof. You've betrayed this company, our family, and every single person who's worked to build this legacy." He shot back, desperation creeping into his voice. "You're trying to destroy me. This is personal." I looked him dead in the eye. "This isn't personal, it's justice." The chairman called for a vote. One by one, the stakeholders stood, their decisions clear. The board voted overwhelmingly in my favor. Mike sat back, defeated, his empire crumbling piece by piece. As the room started to clear, I caught Sarah's eye from across the table. She gave me a small nod, a silent message. We'd made it through. But more than victory, I felt a heavy weight lift from my shoulders. The battle was far from over, but the tide had turned. For the first time in months, I truly felt like I was taking back control, not just of a company, but of my life. Being back in control was nothing like I'd imagined. It wasn't just about the title or the corner office. It was about rebuilding the company, rebuilding trust, and most importantly, rebuilding my family. The first weeks were a whirlwind. I spent hours on calls with partners who had been left hanging, apologizing for the mess Mike's reckless decisions had caused. I had meetings with department heads, hearing their fears and frustrations. They wanted reassurance that the chaos was ending and stability was returning. One afternoon, I sat down with Karen, our longtime CFO. She looked tired but hopeful. "Jones," she said, "the books are a mess, but we can fix this. Your return is already making waves. People are starting to believe again." I nodded. "We'll need to rebuild from the ground up. This is more than numbers. It's about people's faith in us." Sarah was my rock through it all. One evening, after a long day, she sat beside me in the living room. "You've been carrying this weight for months," she said softly. "Don't forget to take care of yourself too." I took her hand, squeezing it gently. "I couldn't have done any of this without you. The kids need me to be strong, and so do you." At home, things began to change. The kids, who had sensed the tension and silence, started smiling again. Family dinners became our sanctuary, a place to reconnect, to laugh, to heal. Mark, my eldest, pulled me aside one night. "Dad, I'm proud of you. You didn't just get the company back. You kept our family together." That hit me harder than I expected. It wasn't just a business win. It was personal. Of course, the sting of betrayal still lingers. Mike's face still haunts some of my thoughts. But I've learned to channel that pain into something stronger. During a board meeting, a young executive named Rachel, who'd recently joined, looked at me and said, "Your story here isn't just about power. It's about integrity and resilience. That's what inspires all of us." I smiled. "Thank you, Rachel. I want this company to be a place where loyalty matters, where people feel valued, not just a number." Reclaiming the business meant setting new standards, rebuilding relationships, and proving that trust isn't given, it's earned. I've become more than the CEO. I'm a father who fought to secure his children's future, a husband who stands by his family through storms, and a man who refused to let betrayal define him. This is more than revenge. It's justice served with honor. And every morning, when I look in the mirror, I see not just a businessman, but a man who reclaimed what was rightfully his, with strength, dignity, and a heart full of resolve. Because family isn't just blood, it's the bonds you fight for and protect no matter what. And that's the legacy I'm proud to leave behind.